Department of Human Settlements and Public Works. I'll start with the first one, the talk of the town, negotiate versus engagement. I want to indicate that we are using the term engage, meaning that whoever is disrupting our infrastructure, we will be engaged so that we understand why they do so. And we have done so and then made it known in the public that this is what we are committed to. So that if people don't understand the issue of the 30%, because we are teachers by qualification, we'll educate them as to how you access the 30% that is, they are pursuing. You don't demand the upfront, but you talk to the main contractor so that the main contractor is able to agree with you so that you subcontract, but not that you are calling for the protection fee. That is our own understanding. And we are instigated by the academic paper that was written by Dr. Mtimka of the Nelson Mandela University. If you could get access to that paper, Political Economy of Construction, you will understand these two terms that I'm speaking about, engage and educate. So that's what I wanted to be clarified. We cannot negotiate with anybody. By the way, in terms of the law, personally, I'm not allowed to negotiate with anybody around issues of procurement. Because in terms of the Public Finance Management Act, politicians are not a part of that. What is it that I will be negotiating and all the stuff? Because I'm not in any contract. I think I've clarified that point several times, and we're happy to clarify it again, hoping that it will be put at rest. We thought it was so. So, as we have indicated, we want to engage with them so that they tell us why they are doing this particular thing. So I think I've clarified that first point. On the second point of what my Minister of Human Settlements in South Africa prefers to call the Lindela instead of the transit camps. That's what I wanted to clarify. I love the term even myself. You know, there is a transit camp of Ispingo where our own government has built world-class houses, the double-story houses, which the minister and our premier officially opened some few weeks ago. That is the project that is called Kanku. And the government is having a plan of removing our people from those structures. That's why we're building at a faster rate. That's why you're having the double stories, the triple stories all over the province, because we are removing our people from such structures. As the minister is indicating, is Lindela, meaning you are waiting there. Waiting for what? Waiting for your permanent houses that are built by the government of the day in line with clause number 9 of the Freedom Charter. I think that is understood. I wanted to clarify that part. The issue of Masnenge. Masnenge happened recently. I think it's not even a week ago. We want to indicate that the government, within minutes, like it did in Inanda, went to Masnenge, different departments, in order to assess the damage and all the stuff. And then there was commitment on the part of the government that those who need food would be provided by the Department of Social Development, which was done. And would also want to indicate that friends from business are also assisting us in terms of the provision of food in that part of the world. Then, having done so, there was a commitment by government that our people cannot stay in the open. That's what it did. We committed as government that we're going to buy materials so that these people are re-establishing their own living places. But when you come there in Masnenge, you will find out that in the eastern part of Masnenge, that's where the majority of the shacks are. But when you come to the west, you will see world-class double stories that are built by our own government. So our people have moved into those completed flats, and then we are clearing the other part. If you could go there, when you enter into the blocks that are finished, you will find out that there are slabs that are there, that you will see that where building will be taking place. As the building is taking place, we are clear as government, because it is part of the program of our government that was announced in the State of the Province address, that we are eradicating slums in KZN. And the slums that were mentioned by them, it was Masnenge and Chigacho. You go to those two places, you will see these world-class structures that I'm talking about. So I think I've clarified that particular one. I hope that I've clarified the other questions, because it was the issue of Masnenge, and it was the issue of negotiations versus engagement. Personally, I use the term engagement, and I know synonyms don't mean one and the same thing all the time. Thank you very much.
Add on people that rent after others have moved out. People that rent after others have moved out of the lenderless.
Oh, okay. So these structures are going to, have been built, and people will move from there. There is a condition that we have put as government, because we're talking about the slums clearance. We are going to remove those shacks, and then the people come in, and then clear that particular place as they move to the flats that we're building, and thereafter we will clear that area and then build in phases. That's what we are doing. So if you could go to both of these slums clearance areas, you will discover that the people are coming in both in Chigajo and Masnenge. Some of the houses are rental houses and whatever. We understand as government that there are people who are living in the shacks who are not employed, who cannot pay the rents in the flats. Then we have taken a decision that for those people, we are going to build them the RDP houses. If you come to the shacks of Chigacho, you will discover that our own government has already acquired 2 sites, that is Signal Hills in Mayor's Walk, which is only 4 kilometers into the legislature if you want to go to the city center of Pietermaritzburg, the seat of this democratic government. Then the other one is called the Etembeni, which is about 10 kilometers away from there. The agreement that we have with the municipality, because there's one thing that we wanted me to understand. We are undermining the spatial planning of the apartheid regime, which took our own people from closer to the workplaces and put them far away. Personally, I was born in Mkumba, but my home is at Umlas. You know, why removed from home? When my father was working there in Dalbridge, it was because apartheid wanted to victimize us as the people of the soil and then be housed far away from the workplaces. So this is why we have indicated that these people of ours are going to be in those distances away from the city center. Then we are going to give them RDP houses where they are going to live in comfort. There is an agreement that we have with Msunduzi municipality that they are going to build road infrastructure into those areas so that the taxis travel freely as well as the buses. Then our people will choose the mode of transport that they like. So this is what we wanted to understand. That's the broad plan that the democratic government is having, changing the patterns of apartheid and then bring in the majority of our people closer to the workplaces. Thank you very much, Premier.
Greetings, our Premier and Dube-Ncube. Thank you so much, Sizwabele, as well for the clarity and the clarion call that you are just elevating in this media briefing to our colleagues, the MECs and the 40th state. And we are glad that you are bracing our shoes today. Honourable Premier, there is a question that is relating to issue of economic recovery in the province. The reality, I'm sure you know that after the recession of 2008, the world was going to be suffering in any way. So we are part and parcel of the global village in essence. So I think we must just start from there, and Honourable Premier couldn't brag of what has transpired already in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, because she delegated us to create job opportunities, to job creation in the province. Almost all our department, ATIA alone has contributed 20,000 that is going to be in this financial year. And education alone, I thought they were just going to breaking, because education, 58,000 teacher assistants have already been in the system. And I'm sure you saw the Premier with the MEC Transport, with Minister of Transport as well on the 6,000. So those are the opportunities that are already existing in the province. It's part of enhancement. We know it will never be adequate, but we are clear on the realism that you must be two-pronged approach, ensure that you create an enabling environment for business to thrive. The Premier has expatiated on that point, and she was clinical on the approach in highlighting what has been done. We've been visiting companies. There was a flood relief component within ATIA. We've just created that component that whoever comes and SMMEs must benefit out of it. We allocated the fund out of 100 million. Our people should be benefiting in township. We've started rolling that process. You know, on the 20th of June, we closed the Operation Vula Fund, which is differentiated in 3 tiers, starting from those who are looking probably for 50,000. The second element, which is 300,000, and the element of 2 million. It has already been starting the process. We are deliberating on the due diligence as we speak, and probably within a month we'll be starting rolling that is going to assist our people. So it's part of the element, and it is the ATR department that has to ensure that we catapult the process by ensuring to the insurances, ensuring that the process become easier, short circuit some of the things. So we've started that process. And Honourable Premier, there was a question as well that as to why our entities are not spending. It's the reality that if you must just understand to the deeper detail analysis, Dube Trade Port is the first culprit in the first instance, because it's 218 million that has not been spent. Some of those is the retention of 6.5 million. So the retention is the amount or the project value has been done already, but you cannot be paid. But in terms of treasury regulation, it will still appear in your purse. And there were 2 projects currently. We are building industrial warehouses, which is the rest of the amount, which is what must be spent at this point in time. There is a retention as well that is within ATIA at this point in time. As Mvelo has started the process of SCMs, and they'll be starting the fencing, and we want to thank Honourable Minister Barbara Chris, who has assisted us, because we have almost 42 million. We will be fencing HIP in particular, so that the issue of those animals encroaching and our people in the process of entering the game will be the issue of the past. So we are at that level. Then there was a question relating to the issue of ad hoc committee, which was a suggestion of the ruling party in our legislature after Normandini matter. You will remember very well that our people are still being exploited in those areas. So we said that there was a need of informing the process, elevating, and it is led by Honourable Spidla Sapeta, who was the chairperson of ad hoc committee. They've done a sterling job. They've just crisscrossed almost every boundary of this province. They know the quantum value of the land we have, the pocket of land that must be utilized, how our people in farms are being exploited. So we are at that point in time, and whatever the challenges are there, the legislature is busy sorting all those matters. The reality is that the province of KwaZulu-Natal, as you might know, others suffered COVID. We also suffered the issue of July unrest as a province, then the floods. I'm sure even last week you saw Nkosi almost walking barefoot, driving himself, because that's the type of government we have, and the Premier followed on the second day. So that's how prompt we do respond in some instances. I'm glad this morning we were told that KZN in particular, in hindsight, has benefited a lot, has improved, but South Africa is still the destination in terms of the survey done by UK government. So we are still a province, we are still a country that is still attracting a lot. We must also highlight that since 2018, which was the last time that we had 6.5 million in terms of tourists, last financial year in December, we managed to attract almost 7 million of the tourists. So it means that our place is still conducive enough. People still see those needs, as much as the Premier has managed to highlight what ought to be done in terms of the security cluster, because those are the issues. When it comes to the truck touching as well, we are part and parcel of the stakeholders. We've already started negotiating and looking strategic as to what must be done going forward. So we are the type of the province, and working closer with our people in ensuring that we change the economic outlook of the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So that's what one Premier could just elevate what were raised by the members of the Fourth Estate. I'm sure I've covered the length and breadth of it. Yeah, I think Babu Mabaso, yeah, those are the questions. So I think we could just stop right there, Honorable Premier. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dube. There was a question about the special courts. Well, it is our understanding that the government is capable of having special courts. We've seen special courts that will deal with municipal issues, for instance. We've seen special courts being established to fast-track matters that are serious. So it has been our call, and it will be our call in the meeting as well with the ministers, that perhaps so that we could deter future incidents like this. Probably there is a need for everybody to see that the government is acting, but also we want to see those action and want to see people rotting in jail for sabotaging the economy in the way they are doing.
One last questions, colleagues, and then we'll conclude the media briefing. I've got 3 hands. If you can just start this side, and then move to Mr. Gauteng, and then I'll take a question lastly. Okay, that will be the last question from the media. Over to you.
I'm Sipho from Sunday Times. With regard to the flood victims, the AG report last month says that the KZN government actually failed the flood victims. It further reveals that out of 5.8 billion, the provincial government can only spend 4%, which is 200 million. So I want to find out, with that understanding that there's been that image, what comment or response to that can the provincial government have, and also will it affect further investment whenever there's such incidents of disaster, and there is hesitance to people moving grants or loan towards the province? Will it affect knowing that the province doesn't spend? And also, there were issues around the fraudulence of invoices that they received. For example, Mosaic Foundation, which donated 80 million, says that there were fraudulent invoices that they received, particularly from the same and also from the province. So, what sort of response towards that?
Mr. Koke?
I'm partly covered, but just for clarity, Premier, so that we do not misquote you. Did I hear you correctly in your statement when you said there are about 107 cases that have been investigated since 2018 regarding the torture of the trucks? It's just for clarity purposes. I just want to make sure that I got you correctly. MEC Nkosi, you may mean well, but your critics will say surely it's not your role to engage with lawbreakers and anarchists. That's the role of the police. You do not feature there. How do you respond to that criticism? Because some will say you appear to be legitimizing anarchy and criminality. You may mean well as a leader, but some will say your good heart is misplaced. Premier, a night one. Is your imbizo going ahead?
as well. So, Nkosi, I heard you trying to make us believe that, okay, negotiating and engaging, but for me, can't get to understand about that. But look, of course, when we get out of here, so what is action? It's a tool. And we're not stick to kill, so one to understand clearly. So when you ask questions, so we have to ask ourselves anyway. So what's what about that? So I want you clearly stated here that when you engage, it's actually what is this expression that okay, it's not your place to negotiate. But where I'm going, so I'm going to a point where these people, on many occasions, government has categorized them as criminals because when they go there and talk about these sites, so they are. So I want to understand whether Nkosi knows these people. So if Nkosi knows these people, so what Nkosi has done to report not to the police, to the jail, I don't understand this question. These people don't know the essence of the FSCs. They know that. Now they are avoiding that because that 80% should be negotiated, not at the site, but here, where the education process is taking place. So again, the question is, when you say you negotiate with them or engage them, it brings back rumors, because there are rumors that okay, these people are fighting for government officials. So they export money from businesses at the corner, they share the money with you guys. So they can remember that. So a few years ago, they can just get into the city here in Durban, disrupt a government meeting. So can you imagine the situation when people can walk in with guns and take us out? Then nothing happens. So we know what they live in guys. They still there. Nobody has said anything to them. So for the past 2 or 3 years, they've been doing that. There was no action. My other question was, why government, why criminals can just walk in there and take over the site? The government, after 2 years, they say, okay, we're empty. So now Nkosi here just gave us plans to end this. Now, the other question was, what prevented you guys to stop this thing? Because it's been happening. Similar to the issue of question of trucks. In 2018, so here in Mwaliwa, anybody can just walk in there, stop the truck, tell the driver, bend the truck, nothing happens. So we're still, as you said, okay, there are 7 cases. There's no prosecution, no conviction, nothing. So anyone listening out there says, well, because we negotiate with us, because we negotiate with them. So I'm not trust that Nkosi, but you still maintain that, okay, we are going to engage them, because I want to understand. I want to give you that, Nkosi wants to negotiate with criminals.
Okay, lastly, we'll take from...
Sorry. Mayor Frazer. So, you know, when, again on many occasions, did maintain that, okay, the contract is still there. So, the contract is still there. You know, the person said to us everything. By writing you an email saying it's opting out, it did not mean that, okay, the contract is ended. So, I said that on many occasions. So, I just want to know, in your discussion, whether that was resolved. Now there's no contract. Now the only thing that is left are the payments for that company did. So I would like to. So if you need to go and like the parliaments, teachers, what is going with no deception.
We'll take the last 2 questions, colleagues, and allow the Premier and Ministers to respond, and then we'll give a series of summary. So, Ramokgopa, and then lastly.
MEC Nkosi, with regards to Rocky Park, the ones who illegally invaded there say they are the rightful owners of those places because they were on a certain list, and there's also been accusations of racism and council who place their own people in there instead of the rightful people. So what are you going to do to address that? Because I'm hearing that you're going to evict those who've legally invaded. And then my second thing is you made an example with regards to progress, and you used the Sipho transit camp as one. Is that a good idea, since those people were placed there before the 2010 FIFA World Cup, and 14 years later they're only being placed into housing? Is that a good example to make when you speak of progress?
Lastly.
No, I wanted to provide the clearance with regards to my HE report question. So basically, the department, the money which the province spends, 4% out of 100, is from 2022 floods, and that report actually is revealed that by May 31, 2023, the province has spent 4%. That's what I provide the clarification, not from the previous floods, but from the 2022 April floods.
Okay, all right. I think that now concludes our questions. We'll then hand over to the Premier to respond, and then allow the MCs as well to.
Okay, maybe the first one is the spending. I can confidently say that the spending is not at 4%. We have monies that were transferred directly to municipalities for various grants. We have monies that were on provincial departments' budgets, but for other projects that were now repurposed to do the work of reconstruction. And that is the money I was talking about, that the roads that you see that we have done so far were happening from that money. So there's no ways that we would have done so many roads and yet we're still at 4%. However, I would want to agree with you, perhaps if you mistake that for the spending by some municipalities, including eThekwini and KwaDuguza, which are not really spending properly, but they're not at 4%. eThekwini, I think they are at 36%, eThekwini, and KwaDuguza the same as well. They are quite low, below 50%. And that is something that we have raised. In fact, the Executive Council yesterday took a decision to call those mayors to the Executive Council meeting to come and account as to why is there so much low spending. We want to assess that, because if we find that those municipalities lack capacity to spend, the law will then allow us to intervene. And that's where we intervene, and people don't like it when we intervene. But the laws of the country, section 216 of the Constitution that talks about budget, as well as section 139 of the Constitution, will allow us that if a sphere of government or municipalities are not able to govern in their own right, the provincial government have got the right to intervene. So that's the position about the spending for disasters. Isipingo transit camp took more years to move. Yes, it is true. It took a long time to move. It took the provincial government again to intervene, to say, let us go into those projects that are not moving. Let me clarify that the way the grants are working is that even with the houses, that the government gave municipality the right to build houses. So the monies, they come and then they go directly to municipalities to build houses. Province is not supposed to be building houses. But because of the lack of capacity in municipalities, we then get forced to intervene and actually build houses ourselves. And it's one of the decisions that I said we took yesterday, that there are particular municipalities where we are now saying to them, only concentrate on water, sanitation and electricity, we are now going to take over the building of top structure and housing. It's the same as the projects, the delayed projects that the MEC spoke about, that in those projects we've asked the MEC to go and intervene, but also evict those people that have illegally invaded. People who have not been given those houses formally signed their papers to say, this is your house, you get a key, that is invasion. Even if you were allocated a house in terms of the list, you would know that the government introduced a new policy where when you build houses, you must say who are you building for. So you get a list that you are building for this particular, especially in the new projects, not in the old projects. In the new projects. In the new project, you must say who you're building for. But in the old project, government will build houses and then allocate, because people move out now and again, so you can never know that this person was there and the other one was there. And it is true that there is an allegation that there are people who are saying they are rightful owners of those houses. But we cannot say who's the rightful owners at this time, because we need to look at the list, and we need to look at the IDs, we need to look at the people. But also the problem is that those houses are not complete. The walls are not even up. So you cannot get into a project that can, at the end, should anything, even while we seated here, should those buildings collapse, the first people who are going to be blamed is the government. What did the government do when people went and invaded houses that were not complete, that had walls that are not even plastered, other walls are not even up as yet? And that is our problem, is that those people must move out. Those houses are not safe for rehabilitation, and we need to follow the proper process. But to help those people's frustration, we are now saying, let's fast track that housing development. It must finish, so that we can then allocate people in those projects. So that is the stance that we've taken in terms of particularly the Rocky Park. Pasina does not exist, Mr. Pungula. Pasina, I can see you like Pasina. Please believe the MEC, because she's the executive member responsible for education. Unless you are one of the GDGs who've signed something that we do not know. As far as we know, Pasina opted out, and we actually, through our legal office, we reinforced that our understanding is that you opted out. When they went on media and said, no, they didn't opt out, we went to our legal section and we challenged them, and they said, you opted out. And we said, if you don't agree to that, we're going to take other actions, because we were ready to take those actions. And now, as the MEC says, there were things that were delivered by those people, Pasina. MEC says, nothing has been paid unless Treasury says this invoice, yes, there were tomatoes and potatoes, and these were in the good condition. We cannot pay for something that was not in the good condition. That's where we are. Thank you, sir.
What is the headline?
Pasina opted out.
You have killed his story now.
Pungula, it's not true. It's not true that nothing has happened even since the last, invasions. You've seen that in the police files, there have been people that have been arrested, and there are cases that are going on right now as we talk, and they are continuing with those. We've also sat down with the national minister and our provincial commissioner to say we demanded, even working with business, we demanded to see prosecutions happening to those people, because we had evidence, we had everything, and there was no need, honestly, for us to delay why investigations cannot be speeded up. So there are things that are happening on those people that have stopped work and those that have invaded some sites. Mr. Gokese, There are 107 cases that have been investigated so far, or that are being investigated so far by the police for the previous incidents, and for these incidents, investigations are ongoing. We are awaiting to get the briefing on the update of what it is that is happening and what it is that we need to do in order to work with all law enforcement agencies to enforce the laws. And you would have seen that with our cameras that are on the roads, with municipal cameras and all other infrastructure that was used, that is why it was easy to identify some of those and get those investigations and imminent arrests that are pending.
So no arrests for now, no successful convictions.
The police are the competent body to explain whether they have arrested or not. The report that we have so far, there are people that are in for investigations. Thank you, sir. Imbizo is continuing. Imbizo continues. I've got evidence, Mr. Goke. Please share with Mr. Gugu. I've got invoices here. I've got the form that we filled when we were doing the booking, as well as the deposit that we paid when we were doing bookings. We're not even getting to the story that, by the way, that facility was built by the money of this provincial government. We're not getting there. But we're just saying for now, we booked the facility, we paid deposit for the facility, and we've got evidence. Now, the mayor only got to know that there's Imbizo when I wrote to him, inviting him, that, Mayor, we have Imbizo, we're inviting you, we're calling for you to bring your committees, let's work together for the success of Imbizo. Dugu. The mayor wakes up and he thinks he must have the games when we had already booked. Because we would not have designated that place before we book. We have to book first, we have to pay the deposit, we have to inform even the police in terms of all the laws that that is the area we're designating to hold this community engagement. So the mayor only woke up after the effect. So that is why we are adamant that we are the legitimate people who should be using that facility. And we think that it's ill-informed and it's very, it's unethical actually for the mayor to think that he can use his role, or he can use his powers as the mayor to prevent the lawful, community engagement to happen just because he happened to be the mayor of that municipality. And you can imagine what could happen if the province would do the same and say, once the one minister says they're coming to the province, we then say, oh no, you can't come now because we've got this activity. It doesn't happen like that. There has to be intergovernmental relations that understand, that respect each other's bona fides, that respect the fact that we all work with all the communities. Last week we had Imbizo by the president in the Tugela district. The previous month we had Imbizos in all other districts and all municipalities. It's the first time for us to experience such an event, by the mayor, who really is abusing his powers to prevent, because we use Imbizo, by the way, as a platform for communities to engage with us as government. It is where communities tell us as government what it is that we're not doing right. It's also an opportunity for us as government to see the work that we are doing in those particular areas. So this is not about the mayor. It is about the communities. It is about the people of this province of KwaZulu-Natal. The mayor can decide when he has his own meeting and his own activities. And we've never interfered with anything. But there is no fifth dome. This country is a unitary country, and there is nobody who owns. The mayor, by the way, doesn't own the municipality. It's not his personal home. That is a property of government, and the property of communities. And we shouldn't be getting into a situation where people abuse their powers. It's unethical. Well, in closing, I do want to say in closing that yesterday we have a very good opportunity of engaging with the minister in the presidency, the minister responsible for electricity, Dr. Ramokgopa. He came to us at our invitation in the Executive Council, where he described very refreshing developments that are happening, that really gave us hope, but also gave us assurance that very soon the load shedding will be the thing of the past. Particularly here in KwaZulu-Natal, we have a very rare opportunity where we could easily be able to provide energy to the grid within 3 months or 6 months, if certain regulations were to allow the industry players to be able to provide that kind of electricity. We have quite a few companies in the Richards Bay Industrial Development Park. A number of gas-to-energy companies are already there. Some of them are in the establishment. We also mentioned this in our SOPA as to how much we can get. I mean, I think it's
455 megawatts.
455 megawatts immediately that could be made available should the ministers responsible be able to unlock the red tape and allow the industry players to be able to get that energy into the grid. So we're very encouraged with the work that is being done by the minister. And we've also engaged the minister about some of the substations that were mothballed here in our province. And we've given the minister the name of those substation and power station that were mothballed. We've also given the minister a work that we wish that he do in terms of looking at substations. But we were also encouraged by the report by the minister that he's even gone further to provide a solution of a packaged energy providing solution. And we know those solutions, they are used in Europe and USA and in many other countries. And we are now in the process right now of identifying local small towns and municipalities where those packaged electricity distributors are going to be installed. So we are really encouraged that our country is going to see the light. And as a province, though, we are also one of those that are ready, more than compared to whether it's the Eastern Cape, Western Cape, and other provinces, and Mpumalanga and others who are in the process of finalizing their work. But as we talk, KZN is ready, and the minister appreciated that, and he's ready to work with us in order to ensure that indeed the issues of the load shedding should be a matter of the past. So we will be in future making those announcements, and you will be happy to stay in the light until we make those good announcements. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Lastly, Premier, high-level summary in Zulu for SABC, and News from Africa has this new channel as well.
Zokhuluma ngomnotho la nethi sinaso previous president sinaso Thunyiwe.
Uyabona kodwa uzoqoqa.
Thunyiwe.
Fana bebaphethe ukuphawula
Azikhulunywa izindaba zasendlunkulu nabezindaba noma kumiwe uqatshelwe xabene noma xabaniswe nguwe uwe
Mina uphula divert. Thula phungula ke la meter prefect. Ke uphima khulu.
Ladies and gentlemen, sifisa ukubonga ithuba esilitholayo lokuthi sizoxoxisana kanye nani mayelana nezindaba ebezidingadwa izolo kwi-Executive Council yalapha KwaZulu-Natal. Sikhuluma nani nje kusele izinsuku zimbalwa ukuze sifike osukwini lapho oluba ibirthday kalo owayengumongameli wethu wokuqala wentando yeningi ubaba uPresident uNelson Mandela esiyobe sigubha ibirthday yakhe ngoJuly 18. Siyokhumbula ke ukuthi inhlangano yamazwe ahlangene yajuba losuku njengelanga lapho kufanele ukuthi umuntu nomuntu abone ukuthi yini ngempela esinikelayo esizweni ukuze izizwe zonke zikwazi ukuthi sithuthuke nabantu abantulayo bakwazi ukusizakala. Sikhuluma namhlanje emva kokuba sidlule ezigamekweni eziningi njengesifundazwe saKwaZulu-Natal, kodwa kuyasijabulisa ukuthi namhlanje sikhuluma ngokuthi umnotho walapha KwaZulu-Natal uyaphakama, amathuba omsebenzi ayabonakala, nathi singuhulumeni sisebenza nezinhlangano ezihlukahlukene siyawubona umahluko owenzakalayo. Umongameli ke ngesikhathi kushaya isikhathi sezibhelu ngoJuly 2021 wakwazi ukuthi amemezele izinhlelo ezazosiza osomabhizinisi abahlukahlukene, osomabhizinisi abakhulu kakhulukazi labo ababa nama insurance sakwazi ukuthi basizakale ukuthi bathole iinsurance eyikwazi ukuthi basize ukuze bavuselele bakhe kabusha amabhizinisi wabo. Kwase kuthi ke labo ababengenayo insurance sakwazi ke ukuthi sisebenza no IDC no DFI namanye inhlangano ezikhona ezakahulumeni bakwazi ukuthi nabo basizakale. Hlanganisa lapha nabantu bakithi abasebenza kwi-economy lapho esithi i-informal economy, kakhulukazi laba abadayisa emigaqweni nalaba abadayisela ey'ndaweni zabo ey'ncane abangenazo izitolo ezikhulu. Kuyasijabulisa ke ukuthi umhlonishwa ubaba uDuma usebenza kanzima neminyango yonke ekutheni uma sikhuluma ngokwakhiwa komsebenzi nokuvuselelwa komnotho, inhlangano ezinjengo-DITC, inhlangano ezinjengo-SIFA, inhlangano ezinjengo-SIDA, inhlangano ezinjengo-UIF nabo-IDC nabo-NEF zikwazile ukuthi zisize osomabhizinisi abancane nabakhulu. Kanti nawo umnyango kamhlonishwa ubaba uDuma nawo ube nesabelo semali eyasibeke eceleni esikwazile njengamanje ukuthi sisize osomabhizinisi kakhulukazi abancane. Yasijabulisa ke ukuthi ithala nalo njenge inkampani kahulumeni iyakwazi nayo ukuthi njengamanje isize osomabhizinisi abancane kakhulukazi labo abangenawo amandla wokuthi bayoboleka imali emabhange ukuze bakwazi nabo ukuvuselela amabhizinisi wabo. Uma sikhuluma ngokuvuselela kwengqalasizinda ehlukahlukene siyakhuluma lapha ukuthi ama-bridge amaningi, siyakhuluma ukuthi imigaqo eminingi kakhulukazi ingqalasizinda efana nezikole, amakliniki esesikwazile ukuthi sivuselele. Sikhuluma lapha nje amakliniki wonke ayilimele akwazi ukuthi alungiswe, izikole ezazilimele kwakwazeka ukuthi abantwana abanikezwe omahamba nendlwane abafundela kuwona ukuze kungaphazamiseki. Yebo njengamanje inhlelo ke zokuthi sakhe kabusha izona esibhekene nazo ekutheni lo msebenzi wenzeke nawo ngokusheshsha. Kuhlanganisa ke nabantu bakithi esakwazi ukuthi sibakhiphe emahholo lapho babehleli khona kanzima, sababeka endaweni eziphephile lapho behleli khona njengamanje. Kodwa ke esikushoyo ukuthi ngeke upheke lelo nyaka bengakabi bikho esesiqalile ukubakhipha sabafaka ezindlini zabo ezangempela. Njengamanje umhlonishwa ke uNkosi usebenza naye ngokuzikhandla ekutheni lezo ndawo ezazijutshwe ukuthi yizona esingakha kuzona kufanele ama applications ayenzekalayo ukuthi kulungiswe umhlaba kulezo ndawo asheshiswe ukuze ukwakha kuqalwe ukwenziwa. Imigaqo ke enjengabo N3 laphayana ngasemgababa nawo lo mgaqo imigaqo ke nayo elungiswayo njengamanje. Ibridge ibloho lele laphaya enhlungwane lele lihlanganisa iNanda neNtuzuma nalo seliqali ukwakhiwa simbonile ungqongqoshe uHlomuka ekhona laphayana. Kuhlanganisa nale bridge futhi elikhona khona la ku M4 nalo liyalungiswa njengoba sibonile ngesonto edlulile. Sizwakalisa ke ukukhathazeka kwethu okukhulu ngenhlekelele esibona yenzeka umnotho wethu uzama ukuthi ufukame noma uthuthuse ebese kuqhamuka abantu ke beqala ukushisa ama truck. Sithi ke lolu daba siyaligxeka kakhulu futhi siyacela siyanxusa amaphoyisa asebenzisane nomphakathi wakithi ukuthi lezi gilamkhuba ziboshwe zingaphumi ejele. Siyazi ukuthi kube khona umonakalo omunye ngonyaka ka2018 owenzakala kodwa kuyasijabulisa ukuthi bangaphezulu kuka 107 abantu ababoshwa abashushiswayo njengamanje kulaba ababeshise ama truck ngalowo nyaka. Namanje ke kuyasijabulisa ukuthi sizwile ungqongqoshe wemaphoyisa esho ukuthi bakhona asebebanjiwe njengamanje abahlabwa imibuzo kuzokwazi ukuthi kwenzeke kube khona ababoshwayo khona maduze nje. Njenge KwaZulu-Natal isigungu ke esiphezulu siyasebenzisana ke nongqongqoshe bakazwelonke ekutheni sibuyele siyoxoxa ekutheni sizobamba kanjani lesi sihlava ukuthi ngempela singenzeki ngoba sukhubaze kakhulu umnotho wethu lo ozamayo ukuthi suvuselele. Okunye esizame ukuthi sikucacise namhlanje ukungenelwa kwezindlu noma iproject yezindlu elaphaya eRocky Park ngaphansi komasipala ukwadukuza. Sithi ke siyagxeka ukuthi abantu bangene ezindlini ngokungekho emthethweni ngoba kakhulukazi leya project ethiwa iRocky Park lezi zindlu azikaqedwa. Uma ngabe kungaba khona abantu abalimalayo laphaya lezi zindlu futhi bashilo abasibhekelayo onjiniya ukuthi lezi zakhiwo kwizakhiwo ezingawa noma nini ngoba kukhona ngisho indonga ezingaqediwe. Manje uma sizokuvumela ke ukuthi abantu bangene ezakhiweni ezingaphephile kungaba yiphutha kakhulu kuthina ngoba uma kungaba khona okwenzakalayo siyazi ukuthi abezendaba nabo umphakathi bangasigxeka ukuthi yini esayenza njengohulumeni uma ngabe abantu sibabona bengena ezindlini okungafanele bangene kuzona kakhulukazi ezindlini ezingaqediwe nezindlu ezinobungozi. Ungqongqoshe ke ubaba uNkosi uyalisebenza ke lolu daba kuhlanganisa ke namanye ama project amaningi nawo akade emile engaqhubeki ngokusheshsha. Maningi ke ama project esiwabonile anjenge project lapha ya eMelmoth ne project lapha ya eLoscope kanye ne project lapha ya ngaseMenze High School. Lawo ma project ke angamanye ama project ungqongqoshe ubaba uNkosi njengamanje asebenza ngokuzikhandla ekutheni lawo ma project abeseyenziwa ngokusheshsha aqedelwe ukuthi nezinto ebezenze ukuthi lawo ma project angaqedwa zilungiswe ngokusheshsha kakhulukazi lapho bekunenkinga yamanzi nogesi kanye nokhanjiswa kendle ngoba siyazi ukuthi angeke kulunge ukuthi singenise abantu ezindlini ezingenawo amanzi ezingenawo ukhanjiswa kendle futhi ezingenawo ngisho ugesi. Umsebenzi ke lo kwemanye ama project osuzoqedelwa okuzokwazi ke ukuthi abantu bese bengena kulezo zindlu ngendlela enhle. Siyajabula ke ukwazisa umphakathi wethu ukuthi ukuvula kwezikole ngesonto elizayo sikulindelele futhi sesizimisele. Umphathiswa wethu umama uFrazer usekulindelele ukuthi abantwana babuyele esikoleni kungabi khona okuphazamiseka ngisho nangosuku lokuqala abantwana bethu babuyele esikoleni. Ukulethwa kokudla sithembisile futhi siyazi ukuthi kuzolethwa ngesikhathi ngoba bonke laba abasebenza ukuletha ukudla bakhokheliwe ngo-April nango-May nango-June. Yebo bakhona abangakakhokhelwa mhlawumbe uJuly no-August ingenxa yokuthi imali laphaya kumcwaningi mabhuku kufanele kuqala zibhekwe ngaphambi kokuthi abantu bakhokhelwe. Kodwa siyaqinisekisa ukuthi bonke abantu bazokhokhelwa izimali zabo ngokusheshsha, kakhulukazi kule run ibizwa ngokuthi run ukukhokhelekwa kwabantu okuzoqala ngesonto elizayo. Siyajabula ke ukuthi ungqongqoshe uyalisebenza udaba likaPhasina. Sifisa ukuthi siqinisekise umphakathi ukuthi cha, inkampani ethiwa uPhasina ayisasebenzi nohulumeni ngoba nayo inkampani yabona ukuthi kukhona lapha engenzanga khona kahle, yasicela ukushenxa ngokwayo. Sayivumela ke ukuthi ayidede ibe seceleni ebese kuba khona abasisizayo ukwenza udaba. Njengamanje umphathiswa wethu usebenza nomnyango wezezimali ukuthi kubhekwe ukuthi ngabe yini uPhasina ayiletha nanokuthi ama-invoice akhona ngabe ngama-invoice afanele akhokhelwe yini. Angeke umnyango noma uhulumeni ukhokhele ukudla okungekho esimeni. Lokho siyafisa ukuqinisekisa, ingakho umphathiswa engakakhokhi ngisho isenti. Siyafisa futhi ukuthi sikuzwakalise lapha ukuthi izikole ezithe zaphazamiseka ngaleza imvula zangomhla ka-15 noma ezangomhla ka-27 kuJune, umphathiswa nawo wonke umnyango usuyibhekile lezo izikole, omahamba nendlwane sebefakiwe, laba bangakafakwa basendleleni. Njengoba sikhuluma nje singaqinisekisa ukuthi abantwana ngeke baphazamiseke ekufundeni kwabo. Siyajabula ke ukuthi simemezele lapha ukuthi isifundazwe sethu KwaZulu-Natal siyobe sisizinda sentuthuko nesizinda sokukhula komnotho kusukela ngesonto elizayo ngoba siyobe sineyinhlangano ezihlukahlukene, kodwa futhi sizobe hoste uBRICS. Siyazi ke ukuthi uBRICS inhlangano ekhona lapha eziphethe umnotho omkhulu kwibalazwe lalapha kuzona zonke indawo kuona wonke amazwe. Njengamanje ngomhla ka-18 kuya kumhla ka-21 kuJuly kuzobe kukhona imeeting yolusha ebizwa ngokuthi iBRICS Youth Summit, lapho abantu abasha abaqokiwe njengama-delegates bayokwazi ukuthi baxhumane namazwe eBRICS, baxoxisane njengabantu abasha ukuthi umnotho bawukhulisa kanjani futhi iy'nkampani zabo zihweba kanjani ney'nkampani zamazwe angaphandle akakhulukazi lawo aka-BRICS. Ngomhla ka-26 kuya mhla ka-27 siyobe futhi sinengqungquthela ebhekelene nokubhekelelwa kwemvelo ebizwa ngokuthi BRICS Urbanization Forum, nayo ezobe ibheka ukuthi sibhekelela kanjani ukuguquguquka kwesimo sezulu, kwenzele nanokuthi uma sakhe izindlu, sakhe ingqalasizinda ezokwazi ukuthi imele imvula noma imele izimo ezinemoya enamandla njengoba sesibonile kwenzeka. Siyajabulela ke futhi ukuthi ngomhla ka-20 kuya ku-21 siyobe sinengqungquthela ya bomama noma yabantu besifazane abangosomabhizinisi abayobe beqhamuka emazweni angaphezulu kuka-18, beqhamuka e-Afrika, beqhamuka kuwona wonke amazwe afana no-Brazil, o-Russia, o-India, o-China, behlanganisa namazwe alapha e-Afrika anjengo-Botswana, o-Namibia, o-Tanzania, o-Mozambique, o-Zimbabwe, o-Ghana, no-Rwanda kanye namanye amaningi ayobe eyingxenye yabantu besifazane abangosomabhizinisi abancane nabakhulu abayobe bedingida ngokuthi senza kanjani njengabantu besifazane ukuthi nathi singene sigxile emnothweni futhi kuthi amathuba akhona emnothweni abakwazi ukuthi nabantu besifazane nabo bathole amathuba. Lokhu ke kuyasijabulisa ngoba siyazi ukuthi abantu besifazane ibona abayiningi. Yingakho uhulumeni wethu uthathe igxathu lokuthi abantu besifazane kanye nolusha babhekelelwe uma ngabe kukhona amathuba atholakalayo njengalawa esizowabona enzeka kulezi ngqungquthela ezizobe zikhona. Kuyasijabulisa ke ekugcineni ukuthi besinezingxoxo izolo kanye noNgqongqoshe kazwelonke umhlonishwa uRamokgopa umhlonishwa ke obhekelene nendaba zokukhanyiswa kukagesi noma obizwa ngokuthi nguminister waka electricity okuyena osibhekelele ukusebenza nokuphehlwa kukagesi. Esijabulisa kakhulu into eyokuthi usithembisile wasikhombisa futhi ngisho nezinto ezibhaliwe phansi kanye nezinto ezizokwenzeka okuyizona ezisikhombisile ukuthi ngempela uhulumeni wethu uzimisele ukuthi khona maduze indaba le kaCimicimi ibe yindaba eyiphupho, indaba engasenzeki. Thina ke siKwaZulu-Natal sinenhlanhla ke ukuthi kukhona inkampani lapha yakusizinda lesi esingaphansi kukaBaba uDuma esineziphehli zakagesi neinkampani ezikulindele ukuthi zisize uhulumeni wethu ekutheni ugesi nokuphehlwa kukagesi namandla kagesi akwazi ukuthi afinyelele ukuze abantu bakithi bonke bathole ukukhanya. Okunye ke sithe sakudingida ukuthi njengeKwaZulu-Natal siseneyindawo eziningi ezingenawo ngisho ugesi ngaphandle nje kokukhuluma ngocimicimi kodwa sisakhuluma ngokuthi kusekhona izindawo lapho kusafanele ukuthi uyofakwa khona ugesi kubantu bakithi okuyinto ke esijabulele ukuthi usithembisile uNgqongqoshe ukuthi cha sekukhona ngisho itechnology ke manje ekufanele ukuthi thina siqoke indawo esibonayo ukuthi zindawo mhlambe ezisemakhaya noma zindawo ezikude okuzothatha isikhathi ukuthi sifakele ugesi ezizobe sezifakelwa ke lokhu okuthiwa i-portable energy. Siyayibona ke lama energy ayasetshenziswa umhlaba wonke emazweni athuthukayo banazo lezi zinto engikhuluma ngazo. Yingakho kuthina kusijabulisile ukuthi ngempela uhulumeni wethu uzimisele ngokuthi uqede ngempela indaba kaCimicimi. Ukuba khona ke kwalezi ziphehli lezi esikhuluma ngazo kuzosiza nanokuthi abantu abaningi bangadependeli kulama substation akhona kepha bakwazi ukuthi ugesi uba uphehlwa ngezinye indlela ezihlukahlukene. Yingakho ke sikujabulela kakhulu njengeKwaZulu-Natal ukuthi sizawumemezela khona maduze lezo nhlelo ukuthi zizohamba kanjani kanti nabantu bakithi okuyibona abazozuza kakhulukazi abantu basemakhaya ngoba siyazi ukuthi bona basaselele kakhulu ngentuthuko. Yingakho ke sizimisele ukuthi ngempela siKwaZulu-Natal sizifundazwe kuyabonakala ukuthuthuka khona maduze. Ubaba uDuma ubekhuluma lapha ngeinhlelo zokwakha kwamathuba omsebenzi ukuthi sizabe sise endaweni yasemgungundlovu njengesonto edlulile lapho esiyobe sinabanye abangaphezulu kuka 17,000 abaqashiwe abazobe bebonwa umphakathi wonke. Kodwa futhi kuzoba khona ezinye inhlelo lapho esobe sikhombisa khona bonke abanye sebeqashiwe njengoba senzile ngesonto edlulile nomhlonishwa uHlomuka lapho besinaba u6,000 abaqashiwe okukhombisa ngokusobala ukuzimisela kukalohulumeni ukwakha amathuba omsebenzi. Kodwa hayi nje amathuba omsebenzi esikhashana kepha amathuba omsebenzi azokwazi ukuthi enze abantu bakithi ukuthi baphile bakwazi nabo ukuziphilisa kanye nemndeni yabo. Siyabonga kakhulu ngethuba esilitholayo.
Thank you so much to the Premier and the MECs. That now concludes our briefing this afternoon.
Yes,